The Alternative Back, episode number 9, right here on Hibiki TMD on YouTube. What's going on, me, Travis, alongside my co-host, Colin, two-man booth again this week, going back to one, how it all begun. It's crazy to think that the next time we come to everyone, Colin, it's not going to be in this year, it's going to be 2020. This is the official last episode of 2019, but it's going to be, and this wasn't planned, episode 10 is going to be the first one of the new year. Look at that.
It's definitely going to be an episode not to miss. I'm looking forward to the holiday break. I think this being the last episode probably be a good thing, just to let everyone recharge. You let everything happen. It's going to be the holidays. People are going to be traveling. I know I'm going to be traveling, which would make the podcasting a tad bit difficult, but we're going to make it work somehow. But I'm good to be back in the two-man booth, how commentary should be.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I feel like, real quick, Colin, that number 10 should straight up be our Bash at the Beach show. I feel like we're going to give it to him next with that.
For sure. Absolutely. I'm looking forward to that show. I'm looking forward to it.
They're definitely building it up strong. Before we get to that, build yourself up strong. See what I did? Where can everyone catch you and your jacket?
I'm glad you mentioned it. I am wearing the Orange Cassidy jacket atop my Baron Corbin t-shirt. That way I can cancel it out, I suppose. You can find me on Twitter at UberTieGuy, always talking about wrestling, sports, anything in general. Follow me on Instagram, also UberTieGuy, but there's underscores in the middle. I'll let you pretend it. I'll let you guys find out where the underscores go. You gotta want to follow me. You gotta want to see my stupid face every week.
Even though you've cleaned up and you got a haircut and all that jazz.
Exactly. That's the added bonus for the work they put in trying to find it. They get to see the results.
It's so weird. 2020 is already starting off weird. Like, everything is flipped. Like, I'm going through my midlife crisis. I'm growing my hair longish, and you cut your hair. What the fuck's going on?
I mean, give it time. By the time we're doing this show, for the last show of 2020, I'm sure my hair will be back to Matt Riddle length, and I'll just be a budding stoner alcoholic or someone like that.
Goals. And everyone else's goal should be to follow me on Twitter at the Hibiki TMD. That little red button right down there. You know what to do. Hit it. All the goodness, retro gaming, and pro wrestling right here on the channel. Get your official Hibiki TMD merchandise. And in the new year, we promise you it's coming the very first alternative This Show t-shirt at unionsmack.bigcartel.com. And catch me in 2020 with Drew Ortman at ProWrestlingJournal.com for the brand new Pro Wrestling Journal podcast. God damn, a lot going on for the channel. Excited for the new year. Excited to get down and review this week's episode of Dynamite, because unlike the last 2 weeks, which I wasn't, obviously, for anyone that caught our last episode, I'm much more pleasant this week because I liked what I watched Wednesday a hell of a lot more than what I've been watching.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a good show. I mean, I'm a very easy person to please. It's not a secret, but I would say like the last couple of weeks might have been a little slow than usual, but I think this episode was pretty solid. It sets up a lot. It sets up their big show that they're going to have next week. I would definitely say I think 2020 is going to be a solid year for AEW. I was talking to one of my friends earlier, and he said like he wants to see both AEW and NXT get over 1 million viewers each week, and I think 2020 is the year that'll happen. I think hopefully 2020 will be a bigger boom period for wrestling, and I think it's a deserved thing. I think wrestling's fantastic right now, so I'm looking forward to see what the new year will bring, what the new decade will have in store for the world of pro wrestling.
You know what's hilarious to me, and it happened today when the ratings came out? NXT and AEW for the first time. It's weird. They dead set tied with the exact same number. 780,000, 100,000.
I think it was like 778,000. I
But
saw that.
That's not what's hilarious to me. Yes, that's weird and kind of kooky that it happened like that. But what's hilarious is like the Alvarez and the Meltzer and all these bullshit spewers. They were just like, these were their tweets. But I mean. Like, they were just stumped. They didn't know what the fuck to do at first. And, of course, they put their spin on it when they got their senses together. But it was just hilarious to me. They're just, God. But, yeah, that's crazy they tied.
What you have to realize is AEW still beat them in the 18 to 30 whatever the fuck demo by, like, 0.4. So, it's gotta be worth something. And I mean, plus AEW is alphabetical first, so I guess they win. Like these were all different points I saw, and I mean most of them were jokes. But I mean, I'm glad they tied, just because it means people will shut up about ratings for a week. Hopefully, the whole debate won't last until fucking Tuesday.
Right. And we got to bring it up again. Another shot of this was during Dynamite, like half of the arena empty again, or at least a quarter of it. I'm not going to say a half, but a good quarter of it empty again. I mean, that's pretty general across the board. It's pretty much a moot point. Yes, we joke on Twitter and we make our little tweets, but in reality, WWE shows, even Raws and SmackDowns, are pretty much like that too. There's a lot of things tarped off. Let's be real. I mean, every AEW and WWE pay-per-view, pretty much 95% of the time is billed to the rafters.
Exactly. Like the shows that matter, they're the ones that sell out. And the thing is with the like part of the arena being empty, it's people like to see those pictures and think, oh, AEW's gonna die or they're not gonna last, and I'm just like, I mean, these are the same kind of pictures we see with WWE shows. Are they gonna die in the next 2 years also because they also have part of the arena taped off, or people aren't there? Like, no, the fact that they even can sell out, like they can sell enough seats in the arena to tape a TV show. Like the fact that there's another wrestling TV show on cable networks that isn't WWE is mind blowing. So like, you can't, like, you have to look at it from like different point of views. And so I would say, it doesn't really matter that, they had a bad, the camera side wasn't sold out. You can't see it on TV, so it doesn't really matter.
And we got to put the disclaimer out there before we get to the review, before we go any further, Colin. Once again, if you're just checking out the alternative for the first time, we are not those fans. We are the fans that just like wrestling if it's good. We're not these Civil War motherfuckers. I'm diehard AEW. I'm diehard WE. We're not those cringe guys. If we'll acknowledge the good, we'll shit on the bad. That's just who we are. We call it like we see it. We're 100% bullet point accurate, I feel like, and on point, and we're honest. And that's the most important thing to basically be. Otherwise, you just come off as just this, fuck, I'm not going to say the M word. We all know that it's somebody's name too. It could suffice as, but still. If it's good, I'm going to like it. If it's bad, it happens. And one more thing real quick before we get to the review, Colin. I love the people too on Twitter that make the argument. They're still out there too. They're not as vocal anymore because of the AEW cultists now, but the New Japan cultists, the ones that goes, well, both of you are wrong because New Japan fills it up all the time. Well, they run smaller fucking venues for the most part. That's smart. I'm not taking that away. People make the argument, should AEW run smaller venues? Because realistically, they're just competing with NXT right now. I say no. I feel like out of the gate like this, no, you got to come off strong. Aesthetically, it's got to be in actual arenas right now. Then you can downscale to that over time for budget's sake and stuff. And at least it's not going to look half tarped off. I mean, NXT always looks packed because of how small it is. But I just feel like for now, it's the right call to keep making arena shots weekly. Sorry. And they got the money to afford to do that. So do it.
Exactly. No, all that's a shoot, brother. And yeah, no, I
Brother.
would say, I mean, it's pretty easy to sell out in a full sale crowd when it seats like 400 people or something like that, if that. And so, yeah, no, I would say, it doesn't really matter right now. Like, as long as they're making the money and they can keep doing this every week, then it doesn't really matter that they don't sell out arenas. It doesn't matter that a section might not be, fully seated. Like, it truly doesn't matter.
Nope. What does matter is what went down on this week's episode of Dynamite. Let's kick it off, Colin. This week's episode kicked off with, on my sheet, Jon Moxley, right? Coming out from the crowd. That's how we kicked it off?
Yes, sir. Jon Moxley coming out, having himself a good old enhancement match. We had the return of Alex Reynolds and John Silver.
Hi-ho Silver!
They've been the Beaver Boys, as I'm told they're called. It's a great name, I think. Yeah, no, I mean, they've definitely been, like, staying around in AEW, which is nice. I like the idea that and as we saw earlier in the show, also, they're now they're teasing that they might be in the Dark Order sometime soon. I don't know if you saw that, but the whole hotel vintage and Alex Reynolds lying in the bed after his defeat, and all of a sudden the Dark Order's on the TV saying like, "Hey, go get your toothpaste at the front desk. Also, stop losing to people and come join the Dark Order, and we'll take care of that." So definitely an interesting story going on so far. But yeah, it was pretty to the point. I mean, I always watch NXT and AEW side by side each week, and this match was over before NXT's entrances were even done.
Mm.
Jon Moxley making quick work of Alex Reynolds.
8 seconds.
Took care of Johnny Silver as well. And then we had a little interruption by the Inner Circle coming out.
I don't want to say long-winded promo, but a good promo by Jericho. I said long-winded in the fact that it was purposely long-winded. It was kind of the gist of it was the chicken shit heel afraid of this challenger, so he's going to lie his ass off and say how much he likes him and wants him in his group so he doesn't have to fight him. That's the gist of what Jericho was trying to get across, and he did. It's Jericho. I mean, he's going to make that work, in my opinion. I'm sure yours, Colin. This was good. I really like this. And you saw, of course, Ambrose making the little facials. Ew, I didn't mean to say it that way. I don't feel like Ambrose is going to join, but I got to give it to both these guys, especially Ambrose with his mannerisms by the end of this. For a second, it got me thinking, like, what? Huh? Like, and then it was like, well, it'd be like a Daniel Bryan and a Wyatt kind of thing, maybe. But who knows?
Kind of joining the Inner Circle to kind of like get on their good side and then take them apart from the inside would be, you know, where I think they would go if they actually had Moxley join. But yeah, Jericho giving them like a history lesson on Jericho and Ambrose's time in WWE, and now how Jericho's as the AEW champion. There's Moxley there. I gave them shit for it, but I had to go back. I believe they did give Mitch the Potted Plant his due reference. So I popped big for that.
I'm not sure when Jericho said when we had our epic matches before if he was being sarcastic, because from what I remember, every time they had a blow-off match, it sucked, and it's not memorable.
I mean, no, the fucking Ambrose Asylum match wasn't great. I don't know. I can't remember if that match was really good or really bad.
I think it was just really mediocre and not memorable. Like, I don't think it was a shitstorm, but I just think it was, you know.
The only thing memorable was Mitch the Potted Plant, so I mean,
there you go.
To be fair, but Jericho, extending that offer, leaving him with the shirt, and then just backing out. I like it. It gives us, a reason to tune in again because we all want to know like what's he gonna say, and I mean it's pretty obvious that he's not going to accept the offer. But, it's still cool to, like, it's fun to tune in to see what could possibly happen.
Next week, we're getting they've actually built it up really well, considering half of who's in it. And he's just not credible. I'm not saying he's not good or talented. Jungle Boy and Jericho, right? I feel like it's kind of obvious to me what they're going to do is have Moxley. It's going to come down to the wire, but Moxley's going to come out, kind of make Jericho and them think he's with them. And think, like, to maybe help fend off Luchasaurus. But in the end, he's going to do something to Jericho, and, like, Jungle Boy will get the fluke win. I think that's what they're going to do. One thing I want to ask you real quick. They mentioned it on commentary, and they're kind of adding it, I feel like. And I don't hate it. They're going along with, like, driving home the records, right? They mentioned Moxley repeatedly during his entrance had the record for the fastest match in AEW history. And he obviously beat that record in this match, and they kept saying it too. Is that going to be another a layer they add to him, like the Goldberg or the NXT Baron Corbin thing? How fast can he beat these fucking guys? Do you think that's a bad thing or a good thing for Moxley?
I mean, I think establishing him as this, badass who can take care of the competition quickly, wouldn't be a bad thing for sure. I think they could really only do it with the kind of guys who are just the enhancement talent and stuff like that. I don't think he would, be able to do it with the kind of people I mean, I remember when Corbin was doing the whole gimmick and stuff like that. That's when I first started to, really like Corbin, stuff like that. Same thing. It was really with only the enhancement talent. It wasn't until, a good couple months into the whole idea that he started having, a little bit longer matches with a little bit more credible people. And so, but I think establishing Moxley as some guy who, potentially could get the job done pretty quickly would definitely be great for the kind of, character he is.
Yeah, I agree. I also remember when Corbin did that in NXT, and then it was like the first or second time he actually started having normal matches, And because he'd been doing the Goldberg squash shit for so long, people started to boo him. And that's kind of what turned him heel. Because they're like, what are you doing? Why are you working, actually? We don't want to see you work.
Right, yeah. Oh man, I miss NXT Baron Corbin. I think that was one of my favorite, versions of Corbin. And it's crazy. It's fun to look back at like different wrestlers from the past and see where they are now. And it's like you never would have expected that kind of thing.
I like, to get back to this, I liked at the end of it when Jericho and Hager did the walk-off. I like how it was just shot on the camera of how the rest of the Inner Circle just popped up and they were all there. It's kind of like, well, damn, entourage time. I don't know, it stood out to me.
Oh yeah, no, I mean they're an intimidating group of guys. I mean, minus Sammy Guevara,
Yeah.
I don't think he's necessarily there to look tough. But I mean, yeah, no, it's definitely an interesting thing. I mean, and we saw a bit more of the. I like how the Inner Circle is kind of involved in like a bunch of different stuff. Because I mean, you have Santana and Ortiz against the Young Bucks, Sammy Guevara. I mean, they were all in action tonight, or at least involved in the show somehow, which was nice. And everything like that, and I'm really liking the Inner Circle versus kind of the Jurassic Express and stuff like that. I am really looking forward to the match between Jungle Boy and Chris Jericho. It has a 10-minute time limit, which I think it will be interesting. I'm sure that time limit will play into the match itself. I would love to see Jungle Boy get the win. I'd love to see him legitimately get the win. They teased it a bit. On this show when they had, not to skip ahead, but at the end of the Luchasaurus and Sammy Guevara match, I believe it was, that's when, they all started, going at each other.
Yeah.
And there was a spot where Jungle Boy kind of, rolled up.
Marco counted him like he was a ref.
Yeah, Marco Stunt counted the pin, and, the entire place went nuts. And, I mean, Jericho was going crazy, and they went on the commentary and said, it doesn't count, blah blah blah. And I think we're all ready to see a nice feel-good upset victory, even if it means Moxley has to come in at like 9.5 minutes, drop Jericho at the paradigm shift while the referee is turned around, and Jungle Boy just picks up the win that way. I think even that will send the crowd home happy and give everyone kind of like a nice feel-good thing. I think Jungle Boy is easily a future star in that company. He's got the talent, doesn't have the record for it right now. I do like how it's a non-title match. One of the biggest issues people had was, and one of the easy things that the WWE elitists and the AEW haters were quick to shit on was like, oh, how can you have this whole ranking system but give Jungle Boy a title match? And to be fair, I thought it was a title match also. I got roped into it at the same time. But, I mean, eventually they all explained, like, hey, it's not a title match. And plus, it makes, even if it was, Jericho gets to pick his person. Obviously, he's going to pick someone who he think he can, beat in 2 minutes and get away with it. So, I mean, people have to stop looking at the surface level of things and start to, think, why is this happening? And when they actually start to realize these things, it'll make more sense.
People hate change. People hate the unknown, and they get scared usually. And I feel like because Jack Perry is he hasn't been in the business at least 3 years, I don't even think, man. But I think because he's such a relative unknown, people are a little weary of that. I think he's going to be one of those talents. I don't know how high on the card he's ever going to get, but I feel like he's going to surprise a lot of people when it's all said and done. And you know what? Shout out to my girlfriend because I've been forced to watch Riverdale all week. Man, his dad was awesome. Luke Perry did a hell of a job in that show, his actual last acting job. I'm sure his dad would be proud of him. And by watching Riverdale, it's kind of made me root for Jack Perry more. We'll get there later. You brought up I know what a weird fucking random ass shit that was. What you mentioned the Dark Order in the hotel room real quick. We haven't really talked about it on the show. Shout out to our 2 guests last week. Thank you again, Mads and Logan. We didn't really get to it though. Marty Scurll's time in Ring of Honor's up. Do you think it's going to be Marty all along as the leader of this faction?
I would think. I hope not. I want to see Villain Enterprise as a whole enter All Elite Wrestling. I think Brody King and PCO would just be fantastic for this fucking company. And Flip Gordon. I think Flip Gordon easily would also be great for this company. The whole faction itself. I think one thing I will say, AEW is getting to be a pretty faction-heavy company, much like New Japan in the sense. I mean, I don't think it'll
Yeah.
ever reach quite like the idea New Japan is, but it definitely, there are a lot of factions, a lot of groups, stuff like that. And I don't hate it.
The only
I think,
thing you just said that I don't agree on, by the way, Brody King has been my favorite wrestler in Ring of Honor for at least a year. God, that guy's so underrated. But I probably wouldn't bring in Flip because I feel like AEW has enough Flip Gordons. You know what I'm saying? Even though he's doing the darker character now, he's still kind of Flip Gordon when you know what I mean? Like we got Kip. Flip and Kip. Make Flip and Kip a tag team. There you go. Fuck it. Bring him in. I changed my mind.
I knew I'd get you.
Oh my God, you can make, oh Jesus Christ, give them a skateboarding gimmick and call them Kip Flip. Boom!
Travis, why don't they put us on the booking team? Like, we're selling it for them. I don't understand it.
Can we both quit our shitty restaurant jobs sometime soon and do this shit for a living? Make a hell of a lot more money doing it.
Yeah, I know you've been on YouTube for 6 years and you've never monetized anything, but god damn it, why are we giving away these ideas for free?
Kip Flip. Jesus Christ.
Oh man. I'm glad you said Flip. I thought you were gonna break my heart and said you didn't want PCO, and I'm like,
Oh, no.
PCO's so fun.
PCO's my world heavyweight fucking champion. What are you talking? Sub-Zero gimmick and all. He's coming in. I love that he dresses like Sub-Zero from Mortal Kombat. It's so good.
He's great.
Talk about upside. Talk about upside real quick. Let's get it to Big Swole and Emi Sakura. I remember Big Swole I think for the Mae Young Classic, right?
Yeah, she was in the Mae Young Classic.
What a man! This girl screams money to me. I'm sorry, I see so much potential.
No, she's easily a future women's champion in AEW. I think she's great. I mean, I believe she's married to Cedric Alexander, and I mean, I can't think of a more athletic couple, honestly. I mean, both of those people are, easily made champions. But yeah, no, Big Swole, Emi Sakura, definitely. I like this match. Some people were a bit iffy on it. They thought it might have gone on a little.
Hated the microphone spot. Hated that. What are you doing, ref?
I would say, really quick, I do want to point something out. I don't have all the details on it, but I did see something that Chris Jericho called a meeting with the execs or something like that to kind of talk about how in AEW it seems like a lot of tag team matches and stuff in general, the referees seem to, they're making the referees look stupid and they're making all these mistakes, and he wanted to try and fix that, which I think it's really good that.
Oh, you mean they want to fix their referees actually learning the count to three? Wow.
I know, it'd be great. So I think that would be a good thing I'm glad Jericho's kind of like pulling that and stuff like that. So I think that would be cool. I like the match. I think Big Swole getting the win. That name throws me off every time. It started as a nickname, I think, and now it's just her name, and I love it. It's just such a. I love Justin Roberts every week. Just the way he makes it sound.
God, his John Moxley. I'm not even going to attempt to do it here, but my God, Justin Roberts.
Oh, he's great. I think Justin Roberts saying the word John is on this, because he would do it with John Cena also, is on the same level for me as all the times Tony Chimmel would introduce the Rated R
Superstar.
Sounded like he was being possessed by Paul Bear everywhere. It was great.
John! Ugh.
It hurts your throat, doesn't it?
See, what fucks me up, yeah, it does actually, I need a drink. What fucks me up about the name Big Swole is even worse, because I remember from WCW, and you've probably seen it, when Master P was in the company, right? He brought Master P and the No Limit Soldiers. One of the wrestlers was named Big Swole, was this big dump truck guy. He's huge. So that when I hear that, I just think of No Limit Soldiers, but that's criminally, that I shouldn't, because Big Swole, like we said, is great. She's not only really good in ring, she just, something about her. She's got charisma by not even talking. Just kind of comes off the screen to me. Emi Sakura, of course, a big time veteran. What I noticed about her entrance was she got down, and when she has the mustache on, right out there, like how Bret Hart would go out and give sunglasses to a kid. Well, remember when she kneeled down in front of like two kids, two boys or something. And they kind of just looked at her like, "What is she doing?" It was
Right.
great.
It's one of those things where it's like she puts the microphone in front of the kids and like, what are the kids gonna do? Are they gonna like these kids don't know her song? I don't even know if her song has words. Um,
No,
but yeah, no, it was definitely an interesting time. But also, I want to point out, I love how in 2019 we're coming to the end. We're coming to the end of the decade, and we dropped the Master P reference, the No Limit Soldiers, everyone there. And in 2019, Master P is getting back into the wrestling business, and like I think he bought House of Glory Wrestling or something like that. So it's just great. Wrestling is such a fucking strange time.
we got the
and
thing like fucking 20 years ago. Who would have thought Master P, the singer from Smashing Pumpkins, the actor from the Scream movies, Dewey the Cop, David Arquette, would all Jesus Christ.
Right.
Um,
By the way, Travis, I hit you with some wrestling trivia last week about the pop vinyl. Here's another pop quiz question for you.
on you.
Which current WWE Singles Champion was a member of the No Limit Soldiers?
What? What? I'm thinking. I'm think Brock Lesnar. I just guessed.
Correct. No, apparently it was Rey Mysterio. I guess Rey Mysterio was in the No Limit Soldiers.
Oh, I thought he was in POD.
Something
Thought
like
he was an
that.
honorary member of POD or whatever. I don't know. What are we talking about?
I have no idea. Back to AEW.
I just picture in Photoshop some Brock Lesnar hanging out drinking Cristal with Master P, booking a territory, pal. Big Swole wins with her finisher. That I really love her finisher. It's called the Dirty Dancing. It's like a spinning Asuka backhand type thing, which kind of rolls around into a woman's right. It's kind of like a hybrid, and it's really fast and it looks good, and I like the name.
For sure. No, I think it was a great match. I think Big Swole's going to have a fantastic future for in AEW. It's definitely a good time.
You can totally tell that the AEW's definitely heard people and all the bitching about the women's division. You can tell they're kind of scrambling to get something going. You know what I mean? Because now you got the announcement next week of Britt Baker and Chris Statlander, and now you got this all women's stable with Brandy, whatever the fuck that shit is.
I mean, I'm definitely, I would say they've started to at least try and, like, get their women's division up. That's one of the criticisms about AEW that you and I have both agreed with, and people have been fair in saying that, like, their women's division is definitely a strong division. They just haven't been able to showcase it quite as well. But I would say, they're at least giving their women's wrestlers characters. I think I'm definitely looking forward to Britt Baker versus Chris Statlander. I saw a tweet, I think you saw the same one, where someone was questioning why that match was happening. I liked your response, which was it's a wrestling show and they need matches, which is pretty straightforward.
It doesn't really need a fucking reason. Hence the next match we're going to get to. There's no reason for it, but we'll get there.
Right, but the other thing is, it goes back to what I said. If you stop looking at things at the surface level and actually think about these things, it starts to make sense. The reason the match is happening is once, I believe Rio and Kirishita are scheduled to have a women's title match relatively soon. The match between Britt Baker and Chris Statlander is to get a number one contender for the winner of that match. It's not because Chris Statlander beat Hikaru Shida one-on-one.
Yeah.
And Britt Baker has also had a winning streak going. It's not hard to piece things together. Like, people always say, like, oh, there's no stories going on, or, oh, like,
no consistency.
It's just stupid. And you're not looking at it from a different point of view. If you, like I said, if you scratch more than the surface level, shit starts to make sense.
These people that tweet that shit, like that one you talked about or responded to today, they're so impulsive, and there's people we always refer to that don't watch wrestling to enjoy it. They're just watching it to criticize it and use that criticism to get whatever kind of attention they're seeking, and they're just shooting off the handle. They're just putting their fucking feet in their mouth and not thinking when it's right in front of their face, like you just literally said. And that Chris Statlander match was actually really goddamn good, and I think I said that was the best match of the week last week on that show.
I've seen Chris Statlander about 2 times, and she's already one of my favorite. It doesn't take much for me, but yeah, no, I think she's great. I really hope she wins the match against Britt Baker. I think it would definitely be. I lost my train of thought halfway through. It's like I blanked out for a second. I think I need to call the Dark Order. I think having Chris Statlander beat Britt Baker would be definitely a huge upset. I don't think anyone really sees that coming. But I think if you look at how over Chris Statlander really is and how popular she's getting, I think it would definitely be the right call.
I still think they should transition Baker to heel. I think maybe Baker gets this win with shenanigans from Brandy and the gang costing Statlander, because they're doing the whole, we'll get to it in a little bit about how they want Statlander to choose and come home and all this shit. I mean, you could segue that into Baker losing, right? And then that starts off the bitterness. Because I feel like Big Swole feels like a babyface to me. Really good. Chris Statlander, really good. Definitely a babyface. How many babyfaces do we need? All these women from Japan are babyfaces, correct? Except maybe one?
Something like that.
Yeah, there's lots of baby faces. They need to, and I feel like Britt Baker's going to be so easy, especially for these diehards that bitch about her all the time, about her experience and her ring work and all that. I mean, it's definitely easy material if they want to heal her.
Absolutely.
This show's been easy material. It's good flow this week. I like it. Let's keep it going. Here's Pac, my favorite guy in AEW, getting some camera time, God forbid, talking about another match with Kenny Omega, a rubber match, because we need another. I'll say this, of course, great intense promo here by Pac threatening the locker room if he doesn't get what he wants, but what's the end game to this shit with Omega and Pac? And they just keep having the same match. I've said it before. I'm going insane at this point because I'm such a big fan of this guy. I can take or leave Omega, but,
Right. No, it's definitely getting to the point where they've had a bunch of different matches, and they're both well-established wrestlers. I saw a tweet earlier today, I believe, and it was someone criticizing Kenny Omega for the fact that he seems to not be as athletic as he used to be. He's not putting in the same kind of work, and I couldn't help but laugh because I'm like, the people who realize or don't realize that New Japan and every other promotion are not the same kind of place astounds me. Like, the people have to realize that, New Japan's wrestling culture is so vastly different than America's, and it's just not the same thing. So, I mean, yeah, Kenny Omega isn't doing full sprints in the ring anymore because he doesn't have to. I just wanted to point that out.
Are you just going down my timeline today of all these arguments I've been having with people on Twitter?
You might have been the one who put that tweet on my timeline. I have no idea. But yeah, I mean, hey, great. This is why we have the show together, obviously.
There you go. It should, and yeah. I agree kind of what that person on Twitter was saying to me. It is weird to see Omega work in American style like this on this scale, but I feel like it's not going to take me long to get used to it. And just like I've said with Young Bucks matches, more on that later. Less is more for me with Omega, and it's fine. I haven't really noticed anything. I feel like he's holding back because he has to. Like, he wants to go out there and have an Okada fucking match every night, but you just can't. Especially when you're weekly now. You can't always give it all away.
Right. Yeah, because the thing, and I think that's what a lot of people, because I know plenty of people, a few in particular, who, they can't get into the show because of who the people are and who's running it and stuff like that, because you have Cody and Omega, the Bucks, the Elite, stuff like that. And it's different because now it really is. It's like when they were in New Japan, it's like, yeah, you'd see them, a couple times a month, stuff like that. It'd be a lot different. Now you're seeing them every week, and they'd kill themselves if they were putting on those kind of matches every single week. And they still do sometimes, especially like the Young Bucks. I mean, we'll get to that match later
Good, but
tonight.
Colin, God forbid now these guys are saving it for the pay-per-view. And that's another thing that I think about sometimes. Was it a mistake in a way to kind of come out of the gates as just like quarterly pay-per-views? Because you gave it even the Fighter Fests and shit. They were having those styles of matches, those quote Broadways, the top guys were. But now should you have just started it off weekly? And it's kind of a slow burn as to now these people that can't handle it, I guess. It's just like, it just fucks them up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, I think the quarterly pay-per-view thing will work out because, like I said, they have a pretty stacked show coming up next week. With they have the tag team title match, and they have a solid tag team match. They have another Omega and Hangman Page match. I think versus the Lucha Brothers. I don't
Yes.
quote me on that.
Yes.
Okay. I mean,
That's a big match too, by the way, to just give out with no story on weekly TV. Going big.
And so I mean, but that's what I'm saying. If they have these kind of shows sprinkled in between the pay-per-views, where they have the title matches and they have the big, the bigger TV shows, then only having 4 pay-per-views a year will be fine. They have one coming up in February, and I think based on when the last one was, they put this big show just about in the middle of everything. I think they'll be fine. So yeah, I think things will be fine. I think, it'll all work itself out.
I just get to a point. I just feel like sometimes people really don't know what you want. They want, not you. More times than not, a lot of these people too that tweet that kind of stuff out, I love the Attitude Era. It was the best then, and blah, 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 and all this shit, and Attitude Era. And you know what was never prevalent in the Attitude Era? Great fucking in-ring work, unless it was a cruiserweight in WCW. Especially on the weekly Monday Night Raws. Those were 4-minute matches tops, and this is the era you fucking come all over. You know what I mean? But yet you're bitching that Omega's not going out there giving a Steamboat and Flair every night. It doesn't make sense. You people don't make sense. Just reel it back and deep breath. Let's take a deep breath before we do this. Maybe the most underrated and criminally underused fucking guy right now in AEW, especially now that he's a heel. I'm going to make you proud. With Penelope Ford. Kip Sabian, Superbad, just being squandered. They are trying this little story with Tully cut this little quick insert promo. By the way, him and Shawn Spears versus Omega and Page tag match. About, join us, Kip, and all that stuff. Do something with him, because this guy's a star, too, just sitting there.
Oh, no, he's definitely a gold mine waiting to, be hit, be discovered, stuff like that. I love the pairing of him and Penelope Ford. I will say it's kind of, they had the tease that Tully Blanchard was kind of like putting together Shawn Spears and Kip Sabian kind of like as a tag team, that maybe we'll see more. And I'm cool with that. I think Shawn Spears and Kip Sabian would be a great tag team that they could have and build up in the future, hopefully. I will say, I'm sure it's not one of those things that it's supposed to be in the storyline, but it is kind of interesting, to me at least, because they're having Joey Janela, your favorite man, and Shawn Spears. They're still continuing this feud with them a little bit, and it's one of the things I think of, having the fact that Joey Janela and Penelope Ford were a real life on again off again couple, and now Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford are a real life couple, and yet Joey Janela is kind of like involved in the storyline with both of them now. So I think I kind of like to see that on TV. I think Kip Sabian and Joey Janela, put Penelope Ford in the shark cage, have them have the divorce on AEW television. I mean, it's ratings right there. I'm joking, of course. Don't fucking do that. But I will say, I think Sabian and Janela would be a great feud for the future, because I mean I will say this. I went back and watched the Janela and Moxley match. Maybe not as great as I thought it was. I'll give you that one. But I still think Janela could easily be a breakout guy in the company in 2020, in the next decade. And I think him versus Sabian would be a great feud for both of those guys to really kind of like show everyone who they are and what they can do.
We'll get to Jellyfish Janela in 1 second. Real quick, I want to say this was glaring, and I feel like when you first said it on the show weeks ago, it It didn't hit me then, but I notice it more and more. Maybe my biggest complaint, obviously, is the production of AEW. I get it, they're new. But most of this match's best stuff was during picture-in-picture. Did you notice that?
Yeah, no, I can't stand the fact that they do the picture in picture so often. That the fact that like there's so much good shit happening in it the whole time that it's like, great, I can't see any of this or hear it, but it's happening, I guess. Like, I'd rather they just go to full commercial and I just not know about it.
Yeah. This was mid-match interrupted. The lights went out, and they came back on. Do my best to remain partial here. They came back on, tied up in the chair. Tully Blanchard. Behind him pops up Jellyfish Janela. I gotta say, the way it was shot, I liked it. There you go. I liked it. I like it. It wasn't shocking, but it gave Janela's character a little bit more twisted edge to it. However, of course, I try to give the man the praise, and he couldn't. He couldn't make me just make it a flawless praise and we move on. No, I gotta say it, Colin. Joey Janela can't even tie fucking ropes right. You don't even know how to tie a rope. Just like Ninja can't even cut a loaf of bread. You don't know how to tie a Girl Scout knot or Boy Scout, whatever the fuck it is. Up loops, sideways loops. These ropes, I'm joking, but the ropes were, it was a botch. They didn't look tied until they got up really easily. And you could tell they were set up. They were supposed to be set up to make it look like he was really tied, but Tully, God bless him, just no spring chicken out there. But besides that little hiccup, the visual at first of just the lights going on, him tied up, I liked it. Sadistic.
I mean, you try tying up a person in the dark. I'm sure it's not the easiest fucking thing in the world. Yeah, I like the match. I like the team of Omega and Hangman Page. They did mention again how Hangman Page, and I want to go back on, I want to watch Being the Elite, and I want to kind of see how this unfolded at some point. But they mentioned the fact that Hangman Page is, JR put it as more like taking a break or a sabbatical from the Elite.
Well, it led to the finish. He got this a heelish kind of win, like he snuck in with the tag and got the buckshot lariat.
Yeah, no, I was about to get to that with the fact that, it seemed that Omega, did the work, was about to get it, and then Hangman Page tags himself in, gets the pin, and you could see on Omega, on his face, he's just like, all right, I mean, we still won, so I guess it doesn't matter, but he is still seemed a bit off, and we have them teaming up again next week against the Lucha Brothers, like I said earlier, so, definitely, it'll be interesting to see, is Page versus Omega what they're going to hint towards? Is that a match we're going to see sometime in the future? Because I think that would be a fantastic match.
Yeah.
Speaking of tag team matches, I definitely think we need to talk about the one that opened the show, because we had the debut of the Butcher and the Blade, in ring at least, against Cody and the hand-picked member, the hand-picked tag team partner by MJF, QT Marshall.
Cutie Marshall. MJF and Cutie Marshall.
I think, I don't know a lot about Cutie Marshall. I would definitely say he's very over, from what it seems, at least on Twitter.
I am shocked that for once I know more about something Elite related than you do. The only reason I know so much about QT Marshall is I watched one of those, like, Road to Full Gear, one of those things on YouTube, and they focused on him being... He's a backstage producer, really, and an agent kind of back there. But he's been an indie guy for, like, fucking years and years and years, and, like, kind of came up with Cody and them.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you said it, because I probably wasn't going to say that. But I do have some general knowledge of that. And yeah, no, I think it's definitely a pick that makes sense, because it's the kind of guy where MJF is like, okay, it'd be lame if I just stuck him with, like, Hornswoggle or something like that, where it just doesn't make any fucking sense. So let me stick you with someone who I know is going to be bad, but at least it makes sense.
I like the choice. I did. It reminded me of back in the day when, like, Vince McMahon would do that to Steve Austin. Like, I remember one time he gave him the Brooklyn Brawler as his part. Not to say the Cutie Marshall's that low on the card, you know what I mean? But stuff like that. And when you saw that, you immediately knew that Cutie was eating the pen, because the Butcher and the Blade are brand new. Let's get to that other side of the coin. What'd you think of the in-ring debut and the entrance, the official entrance now of this group?
I loved it. I think I don't know. Maybe I was just in a good mood. I thought this match was fucking great. I think it was a fantastic match. I will say I thought it was interesting. I thought for sure when I saw who Cody's partner was going to be, I'm like, okay, this will probably be like a quick 5 minute match. You know, squash. Butcher and the Blade will pick up the win pretty decisively. But it was an actual pretty competitive matchup, and that's what I liked. You know, they had Cutie Marshall go out, and he wasn't like some bumbling idiot who didn't know what he was doing. Like, he put up a fight. And there was one point in the match where he hit something on the Blade, and I thought he was going to win. I'm like, are they really going to have the Butcher and the Blade lose on their debut? Like, they had me fully invested in this match. I thought the match as a whole fantastic. Good debut for the Butcher and the Blade and the Bunny. I'm really excited to see more of them. I think it'll be cool seeing what they do. I think someone had pointed out that, and at the rate we're going, I'm sure you were the one who probably retweeted it. But it was on Being the Elite. There was
well, definitely not me.
Well, this part I know it wasn't you, but it was on Being the Elite. There was a screen cap of Nick Jackson on his phone, and he was on Google, and one of his Google searches was how do you find a villain, and then one of his other searches was how do you spell villain, which I just thought was funny. So I think it's very very clear that Marty Scurll will be coming to All Elite Wrestling at some point. It'd be strange if he wasn't. But people kind of kept pointing out, like the Butcher, the Blade, the Bunny, the Villain. It would be cool to see, Marty Scurll kind of take control of this group. I think Marty Scurll versus MJF would be a good, starting feud for that because, as, some people might not know because they don't seem to fucking mention it all the time. The Butcher and the Blade are, MJF hired guns, so to speak. So I think, when the whole Cody thing is over, I think them kind of turning on MJF and, siding with the Villain and that whole thing happening, I think that would be a good, starting point for all of them. But, fantastic match. I love their finisher. I think the Butcher and the Blade are definitely future tag team champions for sure.
I love their finisher, but I don't really think they've nailed it flush on TV yet. I feel like they keep.
No, it definitely comes off as the fact that whenever the Blade is doing the backstabber, it always just looks like the guy's just falling on his shins. But I'm sure with practice it'll get better.
I feel like that could be said for this group too. I feel like the more I see them, they could grow. There's tons of potential here for me for this team, but it's kind of goes back to what you were saying last week, about how there's too many dark groups, and they're just starting to kind of blend in. Right. And I feel like if they bring Scurll in, this is who you put him with. It makes them stand out as just not another dark group. You kind of use his charisma or whatever to springboard that into something a little bit more special than just join the Dark Order.
For sure. And I think just the Butcher and the Blade are just a cool tag team as people, because the Butcher is a guitarist for a band, which I think is pretty dope. So he's the cool looking dude in general. I love the monocle and just the giant fucking mustache he has. He's what I think I'm gonna look like at some point in life.
The Blade looks like he's straight out of just like a action movie, just like a shitty bad guy.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the tag team. I think of all of sort of the dark gimmicks, I think the Butcher and the Blade are easily my favorite.
I gotta agree, considering what the fuck was up next with another Nightmare Collective promo. I've seen people kind of praise Brandy as being one of the best promos in the company. I gotta disagree. She's always monotone. She never really. She just tails off for me because it's so monotone, I guess. I see what she's trying to do, but it's the delivery for me. Either way, this was her in some, I guess, her house. It was the lights were turned off to make it spooky or whatever. She was standing there begging. By the way, did you see that picture? I can't believe we talked about Chris Statlander earlier. Did you see the blunder on AEW's Photoshop department when they signed Big Swole and Chris this week, but they put Cat Statlander as All Elite?
I'm not surprised, to be fair. It happens to the best of them. Yeah, no, I did see the promo, stuff like that. I'm interested, I suppose, to see who the bald guy was. I know some people were thinking, oh, what if it's Dustin? And I'm like, it's not.
I think it's a
Dustin.
woman. I think it's Shanna.
That would be. I think that was too. I think that was just far too bulky to be Shanna. I did see a tweet with someone digging into clues and stuff like that to see who it was. Apparently, he's just some big ass bald guy that is friends with Chris Jericho. I have no idea if he's a wrestler.
Oh, it's
If this is
Ralphus.
a future thing, or yes.
Oh my
I will
God!
say
What if it
that-
was Ralphus for real, and he was like their leader, Brandy's like God or whatever? It was just, oh my God.
I think that would mean you would just quit work, and that way you could watch AEW live every single week just to be able to see this
I don't know about
happen.
all that.
I think Brandy Rhodes and the whole Nightmare Collective would just become your favorite thing.
I hate to say it,
Well, I will
Ralphus was like
say-
70 years old in 1998. I don't know if he's even around anymore.
That's a fair assumption. I will say I was cool to see that I believe Melanie Cruz still there. We were questioning last week if
Your girl.
yeah, if she would still be there, if it was just kind of a one-time thing. So let's, at least give them credit, like they're at least keeping things consistent and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, we'll see where it goes. It threw me off at first because I was like, wait a minute, where's Nyla? And I'm like, oh right, she's suspended, so to speak. And part of me was like, I wonder if it's real or something like that. I'm like, wait, it's kayfabe. Don't work yourself into a shoot.
Jesus Christ.
But yeah, so I mean, well, like I said, I'm interested to see where this eventually goes. But they're taking their sweet time with this Nightmare Collective thing. It seems like they hinted something new each week, but never follow up on it really.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting to see where it goes.
I feel like it's weird that they're doing it because Chris Statlander's, she's barely been around. I feel like they should have done this with Britt Baker because, I mean, people are just starting to learn who Chris Statlander even is and discover her. Do you already want them to like, oh, is she going to turn? Why should they care? They don't know who she is. I feel like with Baker, at least, we get a little more heat.
Right. Yeah, so I mean, interested to see where it goes. I mean, and who knows if Chris Statlander's even going to be a part of this whole thing anymore past, the one appearance in this whole storyline, because that's kind of how it's been going. They have like one-offs with people, and that's really about it. So I mean, we'll see where it goes. But Travis, I'd be remiss if I didn't appease our good friend Rocky by mentioning that we had an MJF promo, and my good pal Warloaf was right there behind him, looking sharp in the suit, keeping MJF safe. That was for you, Rocky.
Break out the gravy and all the dinner rolls. Warloaf is in the house alongside, man, a fire promo by MJF here. Kind of just summing it all up for the most part. This is the most yelly I've seen him because I've seen a lot of his in-ring promos in MLW, and he wasn't this. You could tell he was trying to get the promo of his life out there, as he should.
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely. I will say I did like how. Yeah, it was definitely a yelly promo. I liked how he got into it. I did like the making the ring attendant kiss the ring because he was laughing at MJF the week prior.
Thought that was Adam Cole for a second.
One of my favorite details that I've noticed with MJF and Wardlow is the fact that if you'll notice, Wardlow's tie that he wears is the same style and design that MJF has on his scarf. And I think that's just a nice detail with MJF's bodyguard having like the same design style and stuff like that.
Life mates.
Exactly.
Not there's anything wrong with that at all,
No, but and MJF, he accepts the challenge, but there's stipulations, and he refuses to reveal them in Texas. So we'll be getting those stipulations in Jacksonville, Florida, on the first Dynamite episode of 2020.
Is his career going to be on the line, Colin?
It's funny, when he had said stipulations, that was something I thought of. I'm like, what if Cody just wants to retire young? I mean, honestly, the guy strikes me as someone who's pretty smart with his money, other than offering 50 grand in a briefcase, his car, his shoes, and his whatever the fuck to wrestle a man, but I digress. What if he just wants to, go into the backstage role and keep it that way? What if he really does put his career on the line? MJF wins, and Cody's just like, all right, see ya.
Wouldn't that be something? And I feel like we've said it time after time after time. Cody doesn't really strike us as he wants to be a Jeff Jarrett in TNA at all. He doesn't come off like that. He doesn't come off selfish like that character-wise for his character.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll see. I'm interested to see what these stipulations will be. I feel like that's kind of the general, tone and hint we're supposed to get, is that, he'll put the career on the line. And so I think it'll be interesting to see, what the stipulations are. And who fucking knows? It's just going to be one of those stupid, no DQ or something dumb. But we'll see. We'll see.
I mean, come at me. I feel like Cody's biggest flaw, just as Cody the person, with his announcements and everything, as far as just PR and everything, has just been mistiming of his pot shots at WWE. I feel like it's okay to do that, but I mean, less is more, and I feel like sometimes he can't help himself. And it gets to a point where it's like, and I hate, by the way, I fucking hate the term live rent fucking free in somebody's head, but it gets to a point where it's like, you kind of need them in a way for your promos. How about you do a promo without mentioning them? And I'll give it to him. That great promo last week about MJF, he didn't bring him up for once.
For sure. He did kind of throw shade at WWE a little bit with the whole the whole Crossroads dig, because Damian Priest uses the moves. So I mean,
Well, I thought he said it because MJF botched it. That's why he said you don't.
Well,
even
no,
know.
he had said something along the lines of people are botching my move on two different shows.
God damn it, Cody! I was trying to give you credit. I forgot that. Thank you, Colin.
That's what I'm here for. But yeah. So I think, I'm looking forward to it. Cody and MJF are two guys where I like Cody a lot. I think he's a good wrestler. I think he's a good storyteller. I think MJF, same thing, easily one of the best on the microphones of all time already. I hope he never does the Crossroads again, but other than that, he's a pretty decent wrestler. I'm looking forward to it.
Up next, I kind of just glossed over this. It wasn't another fucking match, man, where the best stuff, it's kind of hard for me to review because it was in picture-in-picture again. But Luchasaurus and Sammy Guevara kind of having completely the match I thought they would, which is fine. It's what they should have had, the David versus Goliath storytelling to it. It strikes me again, JR kept doing it. Such high praise to call Sammy Guevara a young Eddie Guerrero. My God, he's raising the bar high. I'm not saying Sammy Guevara isn't talented, but I grew up when Eddie Guerrero was on television. I don't see it. Maybe more of somebody, but just not on the level of Eddie. I'd have to think about it more, but I don't see the comparison. Maybe it's just something is just gaga to get him over more. JR is just saying because he's JR. Who knows? But does that stand out to you when every time he says that, Colin, you're like, wait a minute, come on.
It's definitely something where it's like, I don't know if I'd compare him to Eddie Guerrero. And I mean, who's to say? The guy's young. I think he's 23, 24 maybe, something like that. The guy has plenty of years ahead of us. He very well might become
Angel Garza and fucking Andrade remind me of a young Eddie so much more than this guy.
Oh yeah, and I mean, real quick, this is the alternative that we talk about AEW.
Congratulations, Angel and what's her face.
I mean, I was gonna say I was fucking blown away by the fucking match he had with Leo Rush, winning the Cruiserweight Championship. I thought that match was phenomenal, but he did also propose. It was very nice. It was very sweet.
Come on, you were gonna say congratulations. You were gonna analyze the match.
Hand to God, I was just gonna talk about the match and vaguely mention the proposal, but you had to go there because I guess I can't be happy for other people's love. You fucking...
I congratulated him. What are you talking about? You went all Vince Russo on me too, by the way. Hand to God, bro. Jesus. No, congratulations. Seriously, I don't think I've ever. No, they've never really done. That other shit was kayfabe with Randy Savage and Elizabeth. That was really unexpected and actually pretty cool to see. But in all sincerity, because Colin's making me, congratulations, Angel and what's her face.
Yeah. But anyways, back to Luchasaurus versus Sammy Guevara. Yeah, I would say that the Eddie Guerrero thing's like, who's to say he won't become that next guy, something like that. But I thought the match itself pretty solid for two guys who are, very different styles, very different sizes. I thought, they both worked fairly well together. And what happened is what I expected. Luchasaurus defeating Sammy Guevara. The big brawl breaking out, everything like that. And then, Jungle Boy and everything like that coming down, trying to help everything out. We had the Jungle Boy, doing the faux pin on Chris Jericho. Crowd went nuts for it. I liked it. I'm looking forward to the match next week. I think Luchasaurus, Jungle Boy, even Marco Stein. I just think the whole Jurassic Express is a very over faction in AEW, and I really hope 2020 is like a huge year for them.
I think it will be. I think by the end of it, we'll see a turn from someone, and probably Luchasaurus, especially since he talks now. He could just be like...
I don't mind the talking. I don't think... I get it. He's a dinosaur, so to speak, but I don't think that should bar him from, cutting a promo.
Well, I feel like... I was saying, though, I feel like now that they've done that, they've ripped that Band-Aid off, and he's cut his promo on TV... I feel like that's going to be easier for him to transition to a heel later down the line because it's not a shock that he talks anymore,
Yeah, I would love to see a heel Jungle Boy, like just a very like pompous and cocky, like, yeah, my dad was a big deal and I'm the shit now.
With like a Hollywood rich boy gimmick with like shit kickers around him, kind of like what they're doing with Rollins and AOP on Raw.
Yeah, I think it'll definitely be. He'll definitely be a group to look out for. And I mean, as much as I love the guy and I want him to do well just because I like the zane and the wacky in wrestling, I don't know. I don't really know what the limit is for Marco Stunt, but I don't see him being like the next, like, greatest thing in the world. I like the guy. I don't think he's bad. I just realistically don't ever see him like, and he might get that, big, like, Rey Mysterio world title victory years from now.
Oh, Colin! Like Jesus! I was letting you do your thing, and then you said that. Jesus, man. Come on.
I gotta be a little hopeful for the dude.
But I was with you. You had me. I was like, yeah, I'm with, he can do something. But then you said, just put the strap on him.
I didn't say do it. I said I could see it.
I think the difference between him and Mysterio is Mysterio wasn't blessed with height by any means. He was pretty thick in his WWE years, but Marco Stunt literally could pass as a child. I think that's the issue. I'm not saying it's incredible, honestly. It blows me away what he can do for his size and the bumps he can take from guys their size, but it's got a limit, I feel like, too. It's got a shelf, maybe not so much a shelf life as it just does a limit, a pecking order. Yes, I get it. Intergender wrestling's bigger than ever, but children wrestling, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I'm not all cornet about him. It's Marco Stunt. It's wrestling. It's supposed to be entertaining. He provides the gaga for a group that is gaga. It's a gimmick group with talent hidden underneath the layers. Main event time. You know what? I saw this match on paper. I already fucking knew. I'm smart enough at this stage of the game with Bucks matches to know that this is going to main event. The stipulations for this match is going to get a lot of time. There's going to be a shit ton of things that I already know are going to irritate me, so why bother getting worked up? So I kind of just sat back, and I wasn't numb to it, but I was just kind of like, for me, honestly, besides you got to shit on it. It was just, I don't know if the camera was shot wrong. It was just him holding him up with the chair for the super kick. Everyone losing him. It's not worth losing everyone's minds over, but it was his question.
I agree with you there. I think I like that spot. The problem with it is the camera angle and the fact that whichever one it was, Santana and Ortiz, he was just holding and like you could see him, he was literally waiting for it. He was literally just like, all right, I'm ready for it.
If
like it would
all the one of the Young Bucks had to do was kneel down and just pretend like he was holding him there. If somebody would have just been touching him with the pinky finger, anything, contact, then maybe, you know.
Exactly. It goes. It's one of my pet peeves in wrestling, and it goes back to what we said with roll-ups.
Hashtag kick your legs.
Weeks ago. It's like kick your fucking feet. Look like you're actually trying to get out of it. Don't just kind of sit there and take it like you're just bored during sex or something. You just fucking do something. Same with this. And I remember a couple of weeks ago during the Survivor Series build-up, it was the captain's match on SmackDown. It was Rhea Ripley, Charlotte Flair, and Sasha Banks. Oh, no, I'm sorry, and Becky Lynch. Was it Sasha? I don't fucking know. It was Sasha. You had Rhea and Bayley. I don't know who the fuck was in that match, honestly, at this point. It's forever ago at this point. No,
I think it was Sasha, Rhea, and
it was Charlotte. I know it was Charlotte.
Charlotte, Bayley. Who knows? One of them.
Yeah. But as Vince will tell you, wrestling fans don't have memories past 2 weeks, so I mean, it doesn't fucking matter.
He's totally right, by the way.
But
in the modern era,
I noticed this. I noticed this immediately, and I really liked it. I believe it was. I think it was Charlotte and Sasha. Rhea was climbing up to the top rope, and Charlotte and Sasha were on the outside. You could see Rhea was going to dive onto them, and Charlotte and Sasha actually kept fighting. And they didn't just stand there and look up like deer in the headlights waiting for the car to crash into them. I hate when wrestlers are setting up for spots and they just stand there. They don't actually look like they're trying to block. They just fucking stand there and they let it happen. And I'm like, why? Fucking do something. Like, just bend over and look like you don't see it coming and just stand at the right time. Like, that would look way better than anything else you're doing.
I feel like next year, 2020, when we come back full force, this is going to be a soundbite. Once again, on the topic, 5 simple words. You went to wrestling school! Jesus.
We need to put that should be our first fucking shirt, honestly.
With just the picture of the silhouette of him leaning on the chair and like another one of him. It's Ortiz in both of our, you went to wrestling school so far too. It was him on both the kick the legs and this.
Exactly. Other than a couple of convoluted spots, I mean, Young Bucks matches are very hit or miss sometimes with certain wrestling fans. I like the match though. I like a spot-filled match every now and then. So I mean, I enjoyed it. I think they went pretty zany. I heard that I think it was Nick Jackson. Apparently spent the whole day just lying on the floor with the flu, and then as soon as the match was to happen, he went out there and fucking kicked ass. I mean, regardless of if you like the guy and you like his matches, you got to give the man credit for going out there with the flu and putting on that kind of match.
Was it the flu or the man flu?
I think it was the flu.
Oh, okay. You know what's insane to me too? I saw people giving him shit for that. Well, I think the VP of a company should know better than put his other employees at risk like that. Give him some credit. The guy showed up for work. Oh, my God. It's not like he's Abdullah the Butcher spreading fucking Hep C out there. He just got the flu. I mean, even if they get the flu, it's not like they're going to fucking die. And by the way, flu is another pet peeve. People use it way too much. It's probably a really bad fucking cold and fever. If people knew the actual flu was, he wouldn't be out there wrestling. Trust me. The match.
I'm just going based on whatever the fucking tweet said by the other brother.
No, not you. It's like I'm talking at that tweet specifically that I can't remember who tweeted, but I just saw that and I'm like, Jesus. People are so cutthroat.
So, I mean, I did think it was interesting that the Young Bucks won. I thought Santana and Ortiz would get the win, but I'm excited. I think the Young Bucks versus SCU. I mean, we've seen it before, but I mean, I'll gladly see it again. I think the match is going to be good.
Is that Bash at the Beach?
No, it'll be next week for the big show that they're doing.
Okay, so we're getting Jungle Boy and Jericho next week, and that match, and Lucha Brothers, Omega, and Page. That's a pretty stacked show so far. Probably,
Oh
maybe,
yeah, it's definitely a stacked show. I'm looking forward to it a lot.
might be their biggest Dynamite since they crowned the champ in the initial.
Definitely, I think it'll be. It was back to what I was saying earlier. If they have these shows sprinkled in, like between the big pay-per-views, where they have big title matches, big one-on-one matches, stuff like that, then it's gonna be fine, and people don't have to worry about it. And this show is gonna be just that. It's gonna title matches. Next week is also the one-on-one match between Chris Statlander and Britt Baker. So I mean, it's going to be a stacked show for sure.
Yeah, we did it, Colin. That was Dynamite this week.
Solid show. What do you grade it?
Much better than the previous 2 weeks for me. I'm going to give this one a B plus. Not enough to suffice it for an A, just because. One thing we didn't mention too, and something about Texas crowds again. It's always like the dreaded Corpus Christi curse. Dead crowd for the most of this show, surprisingly.
I mean, and they're actually going to Corpus Christi in like a couple of weeks, maybe a month or so too, which is insane.
Ugh, which is the most notorious for dead crowds.
Either that or they were just in Corpus Christi, but I mean, yeah, Texas crowds seem to be very like they're either super into it or just dead the entire time.
One of the Young Bucks even wore the Dallas Cowboys helmet in this match and used it like he was one of the bushwhackers. Used his head as a battering ram.
I mean, and somewhere Mick Foley was crying because it's the cheapest of pops you can get, but it works.
I feel like my biggest peeve with the main event, the main event for me took it away for being an A. Like I already knew it wasn't going to be for me. You know what I mean? With respect to you and people that are into this style when the Bucks do this shit. When I saw a swanton off the entrance ramp, literally a minute and a half into this, which should be, Jesus Christ, where do you go from there? Then I was like, really? You know what I mean? At least there were certain spots in it that made sense. Like the Meltzer driver, that took Guevara out. He didn't come back. By all means, he shouldn't have. Dustin came back at the very end, but it did take Dustin all match to come back from one spot, whereas these tag teams are taking just finish after finish after finish. So in a way, it made sense for Dustin, but the rest of it, oh, for fuck's sake.
I mean, I think you have to think of it from like a kayfabe standpoint, where it's like if you're not prepared to wrestle and you're not like mentally psyching yourself up to take this kind of damage, then that kind of stuff will take you out for a while. But if you're wrestling in a match and the adrenaline's pumping and like you're trying to win, then yeah, I could conceivably see you kicking out of a finisher or two, or
I do that.
Huge moves but coming back and stuff like that.
Even when I'm watching it and I'm reviewing it in my head as I watch it, I always give the adrenaline spot at least 2, maybe 3 passes in a match. But Colin, when it gets up to 8. And not, you know what I mean? Like, okay, I'm notoriously with Okada and Omega matches and just those big time strong style main event matches in New Japan. I always give them a pass more times than not because of the adrenaline spot, because those guys do it so fucking well. You know what I mean? It's literally telling a story with actual brutality. The good ones in New Japan, But yeah, I've just it's my taste. The main event kept it from being an A. Other than that, pretty solid show, man. Not a lot to complain about. Just little complaints here and there. Their production, again, the biggest complaint for me. The audio still fucking sucks for the most part. MJF on the mic this week may be the most crisp and clear we've heard a guy sound in ring promo. And I'm even talking the Cody promos. It sounded good. So it seems like they're getting their shit together in the audio aspect. But this picture-in-picture shit, man, it's got to stop. Because maybe I would have graded this an actual A- at least if I could have seen the bigger spots on it. Because you know what happens? I go on autopilot column when something goes picture-in-picture. I unintentionally kind of zone out, and I got to talk myself into keep, you know what I mean? Because it's just human nature. You've grown up for years with commercials to tune out.
Yeah, and especially if you're someone like me who I'm watching both shows at the same time. Usually when one goes to commercial, even if it's picture-in-picture, I'll mute that one so I can pay attention to the one that's still going a little bit better for the time being. And so, it'd be one thing if they could plan it where, they do picture-in-picture when, there's a rest hold or there's just not a whole lot going on, then it would be different. But if you have half of the good spots in the match during the, picture-in-picture, then, what's the point?
I don't know if it's on the refs again, because in WWE, the refs, they're timing all these matches for the guys, you know what I mean? When to go to break and get your shit in and stuff like that. Maybe that's what Jericho means too. Maybe it's really not on a production team, because I guess when the fucking network TNT tells you got to go to break, you got to go to fucking break. You don't really have a choice. So there's a miscommunication maybe in getting that translated to the ref and the guys in the ring. All right, hurry up and get your shit in. And a lot of these guys have never been on this stage, so maybe there's all kinds of ways to look at it, But it's a good show. Good time getting with you, Colin. Went a little long once again. That's good. One more time, for the last time of this year, 2019. What a year it's been, man. Real quick, I'm glad we started the show, and bigger and better things come in the new year, and I'm glad to find somebody to not be a biased asshole to be my co-host for an AEW show, because a lot of you are insufferable. I'm sorry. A new year, new me. I got to be more honest. It's fucking unbearable. I came up in the goddamn Monday Night Wars. I came up at the Hulkamania. I've never seen any kind of petty, ridiculous schoolyard bullshit like now. And I repeat, I came up in the Attitude Era. Colin, where can everyone catch you?
Fucking cheers, mate. I'm glad we're doing this. I'm really looking forward to the new year. See where we can take this show, get it to grow, hopefully. Yeah, no, check me out on Twitter at UberTieGuy. Follow me on Instagram, UberTieGuy _ between all the words. And more importantly, make sure you subscribe. Click the button, click the bell, click the like thing, because I know if you've made it to this point, and you have to be a fan to make it this far. I know you never want to miss an episode, so you're gonna want to make sure you do.
Exactly, and I don't know if the Orange Cassidy jacket is still on a special Black Friday sale. Sometimes Black Friday sales go on for a couple weeks, so get over there to Target, pick it up while you can. Since you want to plug my subscribe, I'll plug your jacket. Give and take. And as always, on Twitter at the Hibiki TMD, everything retro gaming and pro wrestling, Hibiki TMD merch, unionsmack.bigcartel.com, ProWrestlingJournal.com with my man Drew Ortman, Pro Wrestling Journal podcast, all the goodness on this channel, more to come. Happy New Year if this is the only show you'll listen to on the channel. If not, see you on the next one. Until then, Colin, Happy New Year, my friend. The Alternative. See you there.